Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day. And we sure appreciate you guys coming on with us, those who can watch us live. And we love to say hello to our dear friends as they come on to get their notifications. And again, we thank you for sharing this. And Andrea, you're numero uno this morning. Brahim, close number 2. Mike, number 3. You guys. Jude, how are you from Troy, New York this morning? Brahim is out in Portland, Oregon. Nativity. And Rosa from Montreal, how are you? Madeleine, Kippawa, Quebec. And Tina, Nova Scotia, good morning to you. Sandy from Fergus Falls, Minnesota. Janet, Thunder Bay. Fran from Orangeville. And Nick from our staff, good morning. And Georgie, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Cecilia, Carmel, Newfoundland. Jeanette, how are you? And Lisa Marie. Rolly from England, how are you? Wendy, Markham, Yolande, bonjour. Happy to have Yolande back with us. Donna, Jeanette, and Deb from Timmins. Nativity, 19 below with the wind chill. Cold. Karen, Faye, how are you? Brandon, and Kevin, good morning from Oshawa. Wanda from Virginia, good morning. Beverly, Newfoundland. And Susan, Bowmanville. Lori, Alberta. Marilyn from PEI, good morning to you. Bruno, bonjour. Francis from Vaughan. Mary from Newfoundland. And that is Milika from Stouffville. Nellie saying good morning and praying. Rita Wasaga. Maureen from Penticton, British Columbia. Couple more guys. Donna and Karen and Patricia, good morning. Sharon from Kansas. 2 Patricias in a row. Jean, how are you? And Sandy, and she's saying the notifications are working. Lioness, how are you? Sue, St. Petersburg, Florida. Adeline, and Madalena from Laval. Leela from Werner. And 3 Patricias, and this Patricia's with a Z. Sharon, Lori from Niagara Falls, the Kidneys of Canada. Annette, and one more, Arlene. Okay, guys, let's get going. I want to bring to you a couple of, I said there was a lot of studies, and I'm going to start with, here we go again, with vitamin D. Let me just get to them, okay? Vitamin D combination, this is a study done with sleep. And remember, we did a deep dive on sleep a little while ago, and last week, I think we went into a deep dive on sleep, and what we talked about there is not only the importance of sleep. Remember, sleep, your lymphatic system, your brain's got a self-cleaning oven, and the only way it works is if you get a good night's sleep. You need to get into the 5 stages of sleep, right? So, really important. But here's what they're saying about nutrients like vitamin D and omega-3. Struggling, this is an article and then goes into some research. Struggling with sleep, your vitamin D and omega-3 levels might hold the key to more restful sleep. Well, we talked about that because in my days of practicing, people that were low in vitamin D, which was universal, which was in the 70-80% of the population walk around. They have no idea. Nobody's testing for it generally because, again, in this day and age, they still think that vitamin D is only for your bones. They don't look at it as in terms of importance for your immune system. They just don't do it, right? So what we're saying is this, okay? What we're saying is it's really, really important, guys, really important to get your vitamin D levels checked. I can't tell you the investment that you have to make. Look, if they make you test it, I would suggest, listen, spend $50 or whatever it is and get your vitamin D levels checked. Now, if you're taking vitamin D generally and you're taking, like I've seen research, it be, minimum 4,000 to 5,000 IUs a day, better in the 10,000 range. But to be exact, you need blood work. And you need that 25 vitamin D hydroxy 25 test. And your vitamin D should be optimized. Okay? Should be optimized. And what this research is showing, it's incredible, is that when your vitamin D levels, okay, when your vitamin D levels are optimized, and your omega-3 levels in your blood are optimized, you get a better sleep. Vitamin D, guys, is for everything, just about. Think from your brain to your toes, vitamin D. And, I tell you again and again and again, there's a war on vitamin D. Nobody wants to talk about it. They only want to talk about toxicity of vitamin D, and it's absolute rubbish. It bothers me. You have no idea. Okay, so unlock a better sleep with vitamin D and omega-3. These levels, when they're low, will bother you, okay? They will not allow you to get into a good night's sleep. Now, let me give you another one on vitamin D that came out, okay? This is because somebody even asked me last night, because if you go on our private Facebook group, I often get asked about, Doc, if someone gets cancer, someone in their loved one, whatever, they ask me questions on cancer all the time. I wrote a book years ago. My son and I wrote a book years ago. Are you built for cancer? Okay? Are you built for cancer? And we said, okay, that if you have low levels of vitamin D, you're built for cancer. If you have low levels of omega-3, you're built for cancer. Cancer, of course, we all know about sugar. We all know that sugar feeds cancer. But when you're low in vitamin D, guys, you're a sitting duck. A sitting duck, okay? And here's a study, Vitamin D and Cancer, a historical overview of the epidemiology and mechanisms of cancer. And here's what they're saying, okay? Here's the conclusion of these, the overview, this overview of studies on vitamin D and cancer. Listen to this. Listen, Linda. Listen, Larry, what it says, okay? It says, vitamin D levels of 80 ng/ml. Now, that's American testing numbers of vitamin D, okay? The U.S., their testing numbers are this. If your levels are over 80 ng/ml, in Canada, would be around 80 would be, hold on, 160, 200 nml, okay? So in Canada, the reading would be over 200 of vitamin D. And you know what? 90% of the population in Canada do not have levels even close to that of vitamin D. In the United States, 90% of the people or more wouldn't even be close to 80 ng/ml vitamin D level. But listen to what the studies are saying that with cancer. If you have lower levels than that, you're not optimized on vitamin D, you're much more susceptible to cancer. Hello, sun, steak, and steel. Sun, steak, and steel. The importance of vitamin D, the sun. You need optimized level of vitamin D. Guys, if the governments were smart, and they're not, if the governments were smart, and they're not, they would insist on testing everyone's vitamin D in Canada. Okay? Everyone and their dog should be tested for vitamin D. Okay? But they don't do it. They don't do it. And they should do it. If your levels are optimized, okay, of vitamin D, your risk of cancer is decreased big time. So when people ask me about cancer, two things come out of my mouth so fast to make your head spin. If people ask me about cancer, Dr. Martin, and I would, you know what, when I'm not in practice, I tell them, well, here's what I would do. Okay? When I was in practice, I gave them a specific Martin Clinic protocol. Here's what you should do. But if you stop me on the street and ask me, Dr. Martin, what would you do? I said, number one, vitamin D. Number two, and they can be one or two, get the sugar out of your life. Let me see. I might even have a little, because I drew it the other day for someone. Okay? Anyway, you look at a cancer cell, okay? And the cancer cell has 200 times more let me say it again. Cancer cells have 200 times more receptors for glucose than a normal cell. A cancer cell is a renegade cell. This was said in 1928, by the way. In 1928, we knew this to be true, that cancer cells were ravenous. Otto Warburg, a German scientist, talked about cancer and fermentation, and the cancer cell had 200 times more receptors for glucose. So sugar, obviously, get rid of it. Never have it again. If you got cancer, okay, just understand that. And we all know about the PET scan, right? Not for your pets, but a cancer, it's cancer imaging. And if you have cancer, they give you, they put you in the machine, but not before they give you glucose, not before they give you sugar. And then you light up like a Christmas tree if you have cancer anywhere in your body. Guys! And yet you go to the cancer centers. We have a big cancer center here in our hometown. You go there today, there's a Tim Hortons in there. They'll give you donuts. They'll give you Ensure. They'll give you Boost. And that'll boost your chances of that cancer growing. It drives me crazy because they don't know the basics. Avoid sugar and get your vitamin D levels up. They should be testing that. Your vitamin D levels should be 80 ng/ml or 200 and above in Canada's numbers of ml. 200. You're gonna die. Your vitamin D is too high. You know how many millions of times I've heard that? It's so silly. Okay? Now listen to this. Okay? So what this is research, guys. And you're not going to see this very often because it'll never make mainstream. They're scared skinny of the big pharma and the pharmaceutical industry, which has hijacked the oncologists. They've hijacked them. And they can't think outside of a box at all. They don't think food is important, and they don't think vitamin D is important. It's too bad, but that's the way it is. You've got to you got to take care of yourself. Okay, so that was one of them. Let me give you another one here. This will, okay, on vitamin D. Okay? Listen to this. The exact opposite of what the world knows. Here's what it says. Sun exposure is associated with increased survival. Okay? Sun exposure is associated with increased survival of the deadliest cancer, melanoma. Hello? What have I been saying on this program for years and years and years? The doctor is in. Remember, the doctor is 25 years old. The show. Did you know that? 20 years on the radio, 5 years of podcast. It's more than 5 years of podcast. We were doing both at one time. Okay? The early days of our podcasting. For 25 years on The Doctor Is In, I've been talking about the importance of the sun. And when they were scaring the living life out of you for vitamin, getting in the sun and skin cancer, right? I called it the Johnson & Johnson disease because they wanted to sell you those chemical, cancer-producing sunscreens. And you see people today on the beach, and they're still lathering themselves up. They're lathering themselves up with this sunscreen. Drives me mental. Get in the sun, because your survival rate from melanoma will get better with the sun. Imagine that. And I always said it. When you don't have enough sun, that's when you get melanoma. When you are either scared of the sun or you work indoors or whatever. They've proven this, guys. Melanoma does not come from the sun. Well, it does in a way if you have a lack of it. Guys, the importance again, sun, steak, and steel. Isn't it incredible? I want to scream. Because we haven't, guys, can I say something? Two biggest killers in society today. Two biggest. Heart disease, cancer. Number one and number two. Chronic diseases. We haven't even made a dent. All the money in the world, you know, they come to your door. They're all over. Give us money for cancer research. Well, first of all, 90% of that never gets to research. The money that you give, tell you guys, just go. You can go on their websites and look at their financial statements. 90% of money given to the Canadian Cancer Society or the American goes for their budget to pay their staff and to buy advertising to raise money. And what are they saying? What's happened? Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. The treatment hasn't changed. It got a little bit more sophisticated. It's slash and burn. Slash and burn. It's unreal. And there's no talk of vitamin D. How can that be? You get research like this. Sun exposure is associated with increased survival from melanoma. Then the one before it, okay? The one before it, saying on looking at numbers that if you're NGML, if you're above 80, your risk of cancer go down and down. Why not talk about prevention of cancer in the first place? But I'll tell you something. There's someone that gets a diagnosis of cancer ought to find out what their vitamin D levels and make. If you got to pay for it, you can order a kit in to get your vitamin D levels checked. And do it at home and take a little prick of blood and send it to a lab. It drives me crazy. In our province, the genius is here. In the province I live in, Ontario, in Canada, you know what they said? We're not funding vitamin D testing anymore. We don't do it. We don't fund it unless your doctor is very, very specifies that he thinks you got osteoporosis. We don't do that study. We won't do that testing, excuse me, of vitamin D. Guys, that gives me a headache. Gives me a migraine on vitamin D. And let me just show the other one here. Okay, sun exposure increases the survival rate. Vitamin D levels of 80 ng/ml is reducing the overall cancer risk by 70%. Unbelievable. And they can't even, and then vitamin D and sleep. Incredible, guys. Incredible, right? You just shake your head. And remember again that you're in terms of food, if you do nothing else, get rid of sugar. Read your labels. Any added sugar, nada, nada, nada. Now, you're going to have some natural sugars in berries. I allow that, by the way. The antioxidant, the protection of the antioxidants, like eating berries. I wouldn't have real sweet fruits. I'm talking about people that are dealing with cancer. Okay? I would have Dr. Martin's Perfect Smoothie and put a few berries in there. Okay? I know there's a little bit of sugars, but that part I'm not too worried about. Okay? But other than that, you cut out all your sugars, all the crappy carbs out of your diet completely. And get on, I would take personally a minimum of 10,000 IUs of vitamin D, but it's better if you get it tested so that you can monitor it and get it optimized. Get that vitamin D optimized. Okay? And the other thing, Omega-3. I posted it on the private Facebook group again and again and again. Research that came out and was buried on DHA. You know what I called it? The Trojan horse. DHA. Very specific omega-3. Okay, what is omega-3? Remember, people, I don't know, fish oil? Yeah, you're right. There's omega-3 in it. In the animal kingdom, you have DHA and EPA. So you get a fish oil. Okay, or you eat fish. Or if you eat steak, you get omega-3. In the animal kingdom, you get omega-3. Okay, in the plant kingdom, you get an omega-3, but it's ALA. It's different. It's like, look on the highways, and you got all sorts of different cars, right? And you got, but the animal source of omega-3, the DHA and EPA, they're the best. And the reason is because you're much more bioavailable. If you get, let's say you take flax, you know how much I like flax seeds. And I'll talk about that in a minute again. You know how much I like flax seeds. I even allow you to have flax seeds on the reset. Why do I do that? Okay? Not for the omega-3, because there is omega-3 there in flaxseed. But it's ALA. It's not the same. It's not as bioavailable. You take flax seeds for the lignans. You take flax seeds because even in cancer, it's going to decrease your estrogen. And estrogen, men, prostate cancer. Women, breast cancer. And any women's cancer, uterine, cervix, ovarian, you gotta hammer the estrogen down. The xenoestrogen we live in a world, I don't care where you go on this planet, we live in a world of xenoestrogens, things that mimic estrogen. And they're in your home, they're in your kitchen, they're everywhere. And you ain't getting rid of them all. So you need to dim that out, and that's why I like flax seeds. That would be part of a protocol for cancer that I would recommend. You're on DHA because the DHA oil, the omega-3, the specific one, DHA is the Trojan horse that destroys tumors. Holy moly. Why isn't that mainstream, guys? Why isn't that mainstream? Crazy. Oh, I'm getting... Okay, recap. Okay? We talked about vitamin D and sleep. You need it with omega-3. They work in such a good combination, by the way. And when people are deficient, they're usually very deficient in both. That's what I noticed. Okay? You're deficient in both. Okay, so, and then for all your friends, your family, or whatever, and look, to the extent they'll listen. Okay? To the extent they'll listen. Get them off sugar. Zero sugar. Nada, if they can do it. Okay? I'm talking about your loved ones or whatever, if they'll listen. Hey, listen. I've been around a long time and they weren't always listening to me, believe you me. Okay? Get their vitamin D levels checked. If they can do it, if they have to even pay for it themselves. Get your vitamin D levels checked. In Canada, they should be 200 and above for cancer. In the United States, 80 and above. Isn't that crazy? You know what's normal is about 20. They don't even get concerned if you're at 20. You need to be at 80. In Canada, it's crazy. People are walking around and they don't have a little light that goes off to tell them how low they are in vitamin D. Okay? Omega-3, the DHA. Very, very important. Those things you need to do. Okay? Very important. A lot of research too, by the way, and I'm not going to get into it this morning. A lot of research too on curcumin and cancer, especially liver, pancreatic, curcumin. A lot of research on it. But again, you'll never see it in the mainstream. It's not part of their narrative in the mainstream. They'll tell you to beware because you can get sick and overdose. Okay, guys, we love you dearly and sincerely. Send your questions in, info@martinclinic.com. Send your questions to info at martinclinic.com. Okay? We appreciate that. And I'll try and answer every question. If I can't do it on question and answer Friday, I do question and answer Monday. Okay? Okay, we love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.